Hi everyone, it's Amanda. It's the 12th of March 2019. How are you all doing? Today feels like an Australian day because I've just been interviewed by a lovely man called Hayden Crawford for a series of videos that he does about, he calls it Wise Women in Business, I think. I will put the video up on my YouTube page tomorrow or whenever Hayden's uploaded it. But anyway, he's in Australia, so I'm feeling in the Australian vibe, even though today in the UK chaos is running amok. Actually, we've got the Brexit vote tonight. But anyway, I don't want to talk about the UK today. I want to talk about Australia, a country that I have not been to, a country that I'm very much being pulled to visit in 2020. Might even tie in Japan at the same time. We'll see. But yeah, 2020 for some Australian work. But my goodness, you're a big old country. Where do I come to? So maybe if you know, you can drop me a line. Anyway, I've been promising this for a while, so I'm just shuffling a deck of Australian animal oracle cards at the moment, just to get an animal energy here to help us. The deck is the Scott Alexander King Animal Dreaming Oracle cards. Most of the animals in here I haven't even heard of. Native to your land. So let's bring in Metatron, let's tune into Australia. Australia. Let's see which animal wants to come forward. Oh, well, I have heard of this one, the wallaby. And the wallaby is card number 22. 22 is a master number. And the energy is one of progression. On the bottom of the pack, I'm just noticing we've got the energy of the snake, which says transformation. So, over and above anything that those cards say, the wallaby and the snake together for Australia is talking about a country that is progressing and is transforming. But I'm actually looking at that snake, which looks really fat and tight and taut, and it's as though the skin that snake has on it is at bursting point. So it feels as though Australia as a country, in terms of transformation, is at a point where it's been hanging on to an older energy and it's becoming really uncomfortable. Really uncomfortable. What do snakes do? They shed their skin. That's how they rebirth themselves. That's how they transform. And it's as though the old skin, the old identity around Australia needs to be shed for its new identity in the 21st century to be established. I was picking up already a few days ago that I think a lot of the constant change of leadership and government there reflects the fact that the collective hasn't stepped into its new identity yet. It really is reflecting the country doesn't know, is a bit lost, and is in a state of transition, is progressing, but the new identity, the new energy has not yet landed there. I'm very drawn to the fact that when we welcome in a new year in London, UK, we always see Sydney welcoming in the new year hours before we do. It's usually on our lunchtime news. And I feel there's something energetic here about the problems in Australia at the moment linked into old identity and clinging on to an old paradigm and feeling frustrated, the skin needing to burst, needing to unravel to reveal the new, actually reflects the new dawn of consciousness that wants to sweep in across the planet. And I want to say it wants to sweep in across the planet from east to west. It feels as though it goes in that movement. It doesn't feel as though the new energy arrives from west to east. I'm feeling it comes in from east to west. And so the dawning of the new collective consciousness based on 5D is going to emerge from the east. Not just Australia, but Australia is primarily positioned. I'm seeing the sun wanting to break through on a new dawn there, but not quite yet. If it was a pregnant woman, if Australia was a pregnant woman, she would be 9 months done and 2 weeks overdue. And I know what that feels like because both of my daughters were 2 weeks overdue. And you walk around fat, waddling, uncomfortable, just wanting it to be over with. Wanting the new, wanting the birth, knowing it's imminent, but so frustrated with the position just before the new dawn. And I actually feel as though some of the issues that Australia has got are magnified because the mirror there on subjects such as the rights of the Indigenous people, the treatment of refugees, we're going to get into this, is magnified there. It's happening elsewhere in the world, yes, of course it is, but it's becoming very uncomfortable there for many. Equally, there are people there that just want to bury their head and don't want to look at it. But there's enough people that are awake in the land of the rising sun, which I know also links us to Japan. It's that part of the world where the new dawn's going to come in. That snake looks ready to bite. It's agitated. It's agitated, it's uncomfortable. I'm talking here about the energy in the country. See what else we get before we go any deeper. Australia, Metatron. Let's just go there. So I'm just imagining Metatron's energy literally just hovering over the whole continent, the whole country. I don't know geography. So I'm being drawn right to the centre of the country. I'm being shown the Metatron's beam of light right in the centre of the country, which may very well not be the populated part. There's a portal right in the middle of the country. And it has been soaking up and soaking up and soaking up the new energy coming in. And it's about to go, okay? It's like a volcano, although it's not a volcano, but that's the only way I can describe it. I'm just seeing this orange lava, which is just flowing across east to west, north to south. And very interestingly, it's doing it in the shape of what looks like the Union Jack. The Union Jack is the UK flag. That doesn't mean it's putting UK identity onto Australia. I actually think it's doing the opposite. So I'm a Brit, okay? I don't have any feelings either way in terms of our links to Australia. I'm totally neutral on it. I don't have an opinion on it. So I am not sitting here as a British person saying Metatron's coming in and flooding out Union Jack energy. I actually think he's doing the opposite. It's almost as though I'm seeing the Union Jack over the continent of Australia, And where there was the red, white and blue, I'm seeing orange. Orange is the colour of Metatron. So it's transforming it. Whether that be to do with relationship between United Kingdom and Australia, or whether it be to do with dissolving the colonialism of the past, as well as the trauma that was felt by the land in Australia when the British sent boatloads upon boatloads upon boatloads of people who we didn't want in our country, basically. Criminals, people who were unwell. I don't know the full history of it, but I know it's a very shameful episode in British history that we did that. We just sent them off to a far-flung colony to just sort of look after themselves. I'm just seeing these people that were abandoned by state, plonked in the middle of nowhere, with no resources, with no help, and I'm feeling their pain, I'm feeling their bewilderment. It was, despite anything they may have done, what it did was it brought in a very low, pained energy into the land there. And that's why I think I'm seeing the Union Jack. It's like that was an imprint that was put onto that land. And what Metatron's doing is he's wanting to dissolve the trauma, the pain, the suffering, and bring his orange light across the whole land there. And it's flowing out, literally. If you know the Union Jack, it's like a cross, and then it's got another, it's got that sort of shape going on. It's like I'm seeing a matrix. He's also now bringing in a violet light, feeling the energy of Archangel Zadkiel coming in and helping to transmute, let go, transform, purify the land in terms of what happened to it. And I'm being told it's important that I am one of the people that help to send healing to that country now, because I have British blood. And so it needs to come across the ethers energetically from Britain to Australia, this time as almost like a gift of healing to that country. So whereas before we just dumped, we forgot, we walked away from, we neglected, what is now coming forward is a beautiful wave of energy, which I'm holding here, which doesn't just belong to me. It's like coming up from the land here in the UK, and it's like, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you. I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you. I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you. Into the land, into the centre of that country, rippling out to all parts of it. Rippling out to all of the waters, all of the ports, all of the harbours that these people came into. Letting go of the suffering. Okay, that's just one part. Let's go to a question. Hello Amanda, this is from Susan Rastomi. Hi Amanda, I'm another Aussie who is desperately worried about our government and its apparent lack of any sympathy for refugees, especially those detained on Manus and Nauru Islands. They have been treated unbelievably, and many, including children, have attempted suicide as they feel the world has forgotten them. And then another lady, Felicity Thompson, says, yes, I agree with Susan. These people, especially the children, weigh heavy on our minds. They are being used politically and not thought of as human. It's very, very sad, these little children. Please ask about them and help protect them. And what I'm hearing straight away is that that exercise that I've just done, which was helping to transmute and bring in forgiveness, with regard to what the British did to the land of Australia by basically exiling our people onto it, those that we didn't want. We exiled them as far away from the UK as we possibly could, onto this remote piece of land called Australia. We didn't know whether the resources were there for them or not. They were just exiled there. You can just be there. You're not even at arm's length. You're out of sight. I'm being shown here Australia now acting. The analogy is the parent that abuses is basically the child that was abused. So the energy that is now manifesting by exiling these refugees to these islands is exactly the same energy as what the UK did, which we've just tried to bring forgiveness and healing to. It's as though it's a pattern that's just being repeated because it was there in the land. Those of you that are following me, and I know there are some very powerful Australian therapists and healers that follow me, I know you get what I've just said. What needs to happen here to help bring balance and a better way of treating human beings is you need to bring healing into the land of Australia, which has soaked up an energy that it's okay to behave like this, so that the people upon it, whether they be politicians or whether they be people that support that policy, are purely just reflecting what the land is telling them to do. I'm being shown the land in Australia, and it's as though these seeds of dysfunctional behaviour, in terms of let's just exile those we don't want, which is what the British did, they're still there in the land, in parts of Australia, in the towns, in the cities, in the villages, and in the sea. And so that exercise that I just took you through in terms of please sending the violet flame and also sending the orange flame of Metatron into the land as deep as you can take it, what you're trying to do is you're trying to get to a place where you can feel the land purified. And that old energy that the British basically put into it, which is that it's okay to do this, it's okay to behave like this, needs to be transmuted and cleansed from the earth itself there. And when that is transmuted and cleansed, then the people upon it and the leaders upon it will at least have the opportunity to start to behave in a different way. And how interesting that I said to you, I mean, I'm sitting here 10 to 11, it's the 12th of March. Today is Brexit D-Day in the UK. If I should be doing any videos at all today, it probably should be a UK one, because it's just absolute chaos what's going on here. But yeah, I didn't feel called to do the UK, I felt called to do Australia. But now I'm seeing that the two countries are still energetically very tied together. Yeah, wow. So there needs to be healing and transmutation of the land with regard to what I've just said. I'm also going to say here that those that you see as victims on these islands, particularly the children, are, yes, they are children, but these are old souls who have come in to wake people up, to make people start to squirm and feel uncomfortable. And actually, is it okay to do this? Is there a better policy? Even if we don't know what that policy is yet, is it acceptable to just exile children in that way? That's a spiritual question, okay? That's a spiritual question. They are there, these children are there to try to teach something, to make people sit up and think, is that okay? Now, many people will think, yeah, it's fine, they're refugees. It's not my perspective, by the way, but I just know there are people out there that will think that. It's fine, they're refugees. They have no right to be here. Put them on that island, forget about them. It's the same pattern that happened in the past. You have to heal the past, and then the skin of the snake can start to slowly come off and the new identity come in. Oh gosh, this is going to be a controversial video. I can feel the comments already before I've even brought it out, because now what I'm being shown is I'm being shown the two opposite sides of the world. I'm being shown America and I'm being shown Australia. Now, America, up to this point in time, has always been the land of the free. You know, it's been the place, you know, the, what's it called, Statue of Liberty, welcoming anybody from around the world, you know, to come and make home there. For the different reasons, and I'm not going to get into it now in this video, America is closing its doors. The wall is going up. I'm going to build the wall. It's going up and keeping people out. In Australia now, we've got the balance, okay? What I'm being shown is you can't have two countries either side of the world who just close their doors like that and become rigid. That rigidity would create explosions. And I'm talking here energetic explosions within the Earth's, coming up from the Earth. Think about it. Think about a tree. When it becomes rigid, it breaks, it snaps. We've got gale force winds here in the UK again today. If a tree is completely rigid and can't bend and move and be flexible and try to find a path through it, even though if it doesn't know what the path is, it will break. So there has to be some flexibility either side of the globe. If the right hand needs to know what the left hand is doing, basically. If the right hand is closing its borders in America, you can't then have the same happening here on the other side of the world, Australia. I'm saying other side of the world because that's where I'm sitting here in the UK at the moment. They're two polar opposites. So I'm feeling, where does the new dawn consciousness come in? I'm sorry, but I feel it comes in via the east. I've just said that. So this hand, Australia, needs to somehow find some flexibility. And I think there's a better chance of it happening. No, I'm going to paraphrase that. It's not that it's got a better chance of happening, because America, there are lessons here that it could too open up. Of course it could. But I just feel it's linked into divine timing, that the dawning of the new consciousness is supposed to come from east to west, not the other way. Okay? Oh, bloody phone, excuse me. Let's just wait for it to stop. Somebody's persistent, eh? I'm going to have to go and get it, aren't I? Hold on. I'm back. The phone stopped, of course, as soon as I picked it up. Okay. I think you got the gist of what I was saying there anyway. Shall I look at Scott Morrison? And I'm assuming it still is Scott Morrison as your Prime Minister. I better just check that, because I do know it changes quite regularly. Apologies that I don't know this, but I don't know it. Prime Minister of Australia. And I believe he's a Liberal. Scott Morrison, yeah. And it says here that he's the 30th. He's the 30th, is that right? Just want to have a look at his face. Oh, there he is, okay. All right. There he is. Scott Robinson. Let's pull some cards for him. His energy is interesting because I'm just looking at him and I'm thinking he looks quite soft, but that's not what I hear is the case. But I I don't know, maybe I'm hearing things that belong to another Prime Minister. I'm talking about hearing things here in something I've read in the newspapers. I don't know anything about him whatsoever. Okay, so let's just pull some cards for Scott Robinson. I'm using the Arcanium Tarot deck. Let's have a look at his energy at this time. I can't read him actually. I find him quite hard to read. I'm feeling as though I'm looking at a bit of a mask, because I'm seeing somebody who looks just like the type of guy that might live down the street, basically. Just very everyday, family man, bit nondescript, to be perfectly honest. But I guess to be Prime Minister, he's got more to him than that. Is he hiding his true colours? I'm hearing that. Let's pull some cards. Scott Morrison. I can't see him lasting that long, to be perfectly honest. I'm not feeling a very strong energy there. Let's have a look. Scott Morrison, Metatron, please just show me current energy around Scott Morrison. The Two of Cups and Justice. Let's have 5 cards. Scott Morrison. 3 more cards. The King of Wands. Sorry, they're hard to shuffle. 2 more cards. So far I've got the Two of Cups, the card of Justice and the King of Wands. The Six of Pentacles. And the King of Cups. He doesn't know who he is. I feel there's like a confusion. He doesn't know who he is. And by that what I mean is, I feel what the country needs is a King of Wands. Somebody with a bit of fire and motivation and vision. A very strong leader, basically. And I'm just not sensing that with him. I don't think he is the King of Wands, but I think he wants to be, is what I'm feeling. Because we've got 2 kings. We've got the King of Wands and the King of Cups. That's what I mean. It's like I don't think he's completely... That's why I'm finding him hard to read. It's like, who is he? Is he the King of Cups or is he the King of Wands? They're very, very different men. The King of Cups is very sensitive, very soft, very gentle. Because I feel, when I just look at him, just purely from a face perspective, there is a gentleness within his face. But it's not, I don't think that's actually what his... There's a discrepancy between who he is and his policies. It almost feels as though he's trying to be something because he thinks it's expected, or he knows that unless he plays along with regard to certain policies, he's not going to get voted back in. He reminds me a bit of John Major, who was a UK Prime Minister we had, who was a bit grey. And again, he was really hard to read. And then actually John Major, years later, he was a really grey man of politics. He was called the grey man of politics. And it wasn't particularly inspiring. And then years later, when he'd been out of power, it turns out he'd been having this sort of rampant love affair with one of his ministers behind the scenes, Edwina Curry. And she was like really fiery, and it was like, whoa, putting those two together is just really strange. I wouldn't have expected that of John Major. I'm not saying this guy's up to anything like that, but it's just, there's something hidden that we can't see. There's something that's not adding up for me with his energy. It's a bit wishy-washy. Sorry, I'm not meaning to offend people that love Six of Pentacles. I just think he's trying to please. He's trying to please everybody. All these hands outstretched there. He's trying to please everybody. But actually, I'm not sure any of them are that happy, because the hands are just keep coming up saying more, more, more. It's like Oliver Twist, more, more, more. And he's there with money. Is he, I don't know economically what's going on in Australia, but I'm just drawn to the fact that there's loads of money circulating. So I don't know whether there's more money being printed. Don't know whether there's some sort of inflation problem. Because this doesn't feel very grounded or real to me. I read the cards intuitively. So here, to me, that image there of the Six of Pentacles, it's like that money feels illusionary above his head. But yet the illusionary money, the money that's being printed, he's just giving it away, left, right and centre. Is he following a policy whereby he's spending a lot of money as opposed to austerity, which is what we've got in the UK? It's like, I'm just going to keep giving it out, throwing money at, I'll keep throwing money at problems and people. And it's like, that's the answer. The card of Justice. Why have we got the card of Justice linked into him? Why have we got the card of Justice? The Seven of Wands. He's very defensive about something. The card of Justice and the Seven of Wands. Sorry about the glare, it's my light, okay? Seven of Wands and Justice. He's here, he's defending something. Some sort of legal situation around him. What are his main problems at this time? Show me his main problems at this time. What are his main challenges at this time? Scott Robinson. No, not Scott Robinson. Was he? Scott Morrison. Scott Morrison. He's not the man to lead Australia into the new beginning, okay? We said, what are the challenges? We've got the world, Australia, the snake, needing to shed its skin. He's not the man that's able to take Australia into the next cycle, whatever that is. He's also not a player on the world stage. I mean, I'd never seen his face before I Googled that a minute ago. It's like, I've been aware of a lot of the other Australian Prime Ministers. It's like he's faceless. Who is he? So, no, he's not the man to take it forward onto the world stage. He's not the man who's going to ride Australia to victory. Okay? And actually what is coming up is that he needs to rest. That he's tired. That he's depleted. I feel that he's spiritually depleted as well as physically depleted. I don't feel his energy will last. I mean, you don't have to be psychic, do you, to say that, given the record of how long they tend to stay in power, but I don't feel that he's the answer. So who's the opposition leader? Is Bill Shorten. Let's have a look at Bill then. Okay, Bill. Very masculine energy still, isn't there? I'm just picking up this very masculine energy. I mean, I know there are two men that we're looking at. I'm just talking politically. You had the... you have had a female head, of course, Prime Minister. But, oh gosh. It's like old boys club over there. Again, it's got a whiff of the UK. I'm feeling it's been infected with the UK's energy, which came with it when a lot of us came over decades ago. There's real parallels with the UK. It's like a whiff of the old boys network. Don't like it. It's like a stale smell. Snake needs to shed its skin. Let's have a look at Bill. Let's just see what he looks like. Bill Shorten. Okay. Bill Shorten. Okay. That's what he looks like. He's got a high forehead. I was always told that people with a high forehead are usually quite intelligent. Bill Shorten. Show me his energy, Metatron. The devil doesn't mean he is the devil. The devil is about being bound to something, held back. Bill Shorten. Two of Swords, endings. Two of Cups, partnership. Why have we got... Show me why we've got the devil energy here. Show me why we've got the devil energy here. He's not listening to spirit. Look at the time, 11:11, as I pull that card. Why have we got the devil energy linked into him? He's not linked into his higher self. I feel that I don't know anything about his policies. I know nothing about the guy. I know nothing about his party. It feels as though they are wanting to keep Australia tied to the past. But what is good, and I don't know whether this is Bill that does it or it's just that Bill is a catalyst for it, is I don't think they're going to be able to, or he's not going to be able to, because it feels as though there is an ending coming in, okay? There's a partnership which brings in the Chariot. The Chariot is the card of movement, okay, movement forward. So whether he goes into some form of coalition or partnership with somebody else who does have the High Priestess energy, he just feels stuck to the past. It's not right, it's not wrong, certainly not evil. It's just bound to the past. That's leading nowhere, basically. That's a road to nowhere. Whereas actually the country wants to move with the Chariot forward. So, I mean, it could even be that if he came into a position of power, that he would transform in some way. Let me just ask, if he came into power, show me the energy if he came into power. Bill Shorten, show me the energy if he came into power. What would it look like? What would it look like? Bill Shorten if he came into power. The Five of Swords. He would win a battle, but at what cost? He would win a battle, but at what cost? Either to himself, to the party, or to the country. The Tower. Very interesting energy around him, actually. It reminds me a little bit of the energy with the Labour Party here in the UK. I know different countries, different ideologies. I've got a death card now as well. I'll tell you why it reminds me of the Labour Party here in the UK. because here in the UK, if Corbyn were to come into power, who is the Labour opposition leader, he would probably to even win, he would need to come some way towards the middle ground, which probably would mean releasing the party's control upon him as an individual. He'd have to lead the party, not be led by it. But that's quite a tricky tightrope to walk. If he came into power, he could be the catalyst, you know, that brings something in which is either really brilliant or is something where people finally say enough. The Tower and the Death card and the Two of Swords. Okay, Tower, Death, Two of Swords, Five of Swords. I've won the battle somehow, I'm still standing, but it's produced a Tower moment. I'm feeling that's more for the party, maybe. There's the death of the old. Or maybe he just comes in with policies which are just so like, no, we're not having that. The country stands up to it. Let's put the cards back in the deck and go with another question. Metatron, people watching this, what guidance can you give them with regard to the political landscape of Australia? There's some huge changes coming in. I'm being shown a rug, and you know when you've got a rug and you shake it to get rid of all the dust, you know, and sometimes you can actually put it onto a washing line and you beat it to get the dust out of it. Effectively, that's what I'm being shown needs to happen. So this is a sweeping away of the old energy. And I think it links into both parties. I think it's across the whole political spectrum. It's not about Scott Morrison. It's not about Bill Shorten. It's linked into the parties that they represent. And it's as though the whole is just not working, you know, it's just not working. And there seems to be something that happens which just triggers a whole wave of consciousness where people just say, no, out with the old. We're going to give this a good old, this is going to be cleaned. This is going to be cleansed. What would cause that? I don't know what the age of the population is in Australia. I'm being shown the younger generation who are now growing up. Is there a high proportion of younger people in Australia? I'm seeing this groundswell of younger voters. And I'm also seeing somebody coming up from the ranks who is very young. And radical, but yet in a different way. Not bound to the past, not bound to the old identity. That's why it's so hard to read on these two people, because I'm reading it and it's based on old energy. It's based on the snake, the fat snake. The fat snake is Australia, okay? It's like, it's not working. You could say exactly the same thing for the UK. The political system here isn't working either. Maybe this reflects a lot of countries around the globe. It almost doesn't matter who you put into power, you know? Something has to happen. It's like a political earthquake has to happen to bring about change. And it feels as though it comes up from the young. I'm drawn more to the west coast of Australia than the east. Maybe that's just where they come from, I don't know. I hate to say it, but it feels like it's becoming more and more of a circus politically, and more people are just getting fed up with it, can see through it, want something different. Almost those cards that I pulled for both of them, although they were pulled for both people, I feel it almost wasn't linked into their energy. It's like it's just Australian politics generally. Something has to give. What does the new landscape look like for Australia, the new political landscape, when the old energy is swept away? It's generational though. It's not far off though. It's not that far off. It's not like 30 years in the future. It's a generational change that brings it about. It's when a certain number of people reach maturity, political maturity, and are able to step into positions of power. It'd be very interesting to look at the demographic of Australia in terms of the number of young people that are reaching a certain age within the next 5 years or so. What does the future look like politically for Australia after this shift? I think it's, you know, I almost hate to say it, I think it's tied into the crown. It feels like it's about letting go of identity of the crown. We've got the Queen of Pentacles here. I'm not being shown what it looks like yet in the future. I'm still, this is the energy on the way out. I've got the energy of the Devil again, the Queen, and we've got the Six of Swords, which implies moving away. Again, it's about moving away from something that you're bound to, something that belongs to the past. Moving away from the Queen. Oh, God, okay. I think it's when the Queen dies. Not wishing to bring that in, but I think it's when the Queen passes over that there's a whole new identity that comes in to the country. And it will come into the UK as well. Of course it will. I'm not seeing the devil as evil. I'm seeing the devil here as just, you're bound to the crown. And you need to walk away from it. But it's far less about, oh, you know, they cost us this amount of money or whatever it is. It's purely to do with identity. It's purely to do with that belonged to the past. And I tell you what should actually be done. It should be about walking away with grace, thanks and gratitude. Even those that hate the royals. It should be about walking away with grace, thanks and gratitude. Free from the past, but equally grateful for the lessons it gave. Feels like the Queen's energy was there as stewardship during the country's infancy. Because I'm hearing infancy. And what's coming in is an energy which is more to do with maturity. Let's look at what comes in then after the Queen. Yeah, you see, because I mean, again, look, just look at this again. You know what I was saying at the beginning about the UK, and we sent all of the people on boats across water. And let's face it, during the reign of the Queen we did this as well, okay? We sent people across sea to Australia, we exiled them. Look at them, that's exactly what we did. This whole energy healing this whole energy is what frees Australia. Okay, so assuming that happens, what does freedom look like? Remember, freedom can sometimes be a bit scary as well. It's like, oh my gosh, new identity, got to grow into that. So let's just have a look. What does the new, freer political identity look like then going forward? Yeah, the Emperor. You become the Emperor. But you also mourn what has been lost. Sometimes you don't even know what you were relying on until it's gone. This is the whole energy of umbrella energy of UK hovering over Australia. After that is gone, and it's like we're out of there. You are completely and utterly sovereign. You are the Emperor on your throne, with a lot of hard work still to do ahead, but that's okay. Nothing wrong with a bit of hard work. It's worth it. 10 of Wands, it's worth it. But there's also some sorrow looking back. That's normal. Again, think about the snake that sheds its skin. It gets a shiny new skin, but it looks down at the old one and it's like, oh, you served me quite well for a few years. Or even if you didn't like the skin, still kept you warm, still offered some protection, some buffeting. It was still what was known, what you used to, it was familiar. And then on the bottom of the pack, the new identity for Australia politically is the Hermit, needing to go within and find the answers. Soul searching. Do you know what I'm feeling? All of these change of leaderships, constant change of leaderships there. It's a bit like the person that can't stand still for a moment. Because if you stand still for a moment and are really present, it's like, oh my God, I've got to look at my stuff. Or I've actually got to address the fact I'm unwell. Or I've actually got to address the fact that my relationship isn't right. Or I've actually got to address whatever it is. So what people tend to do is they keep themselves busy. Keep myself busy and then I don't have to think about it. Energetically, that's what's going on in Australia. Let's just keep turning, I know it's not, none of this is conscious. It's a subconscious energy. Let's just keep changing it. It's like the person who bets. Let's have another roll of the dice. Let's see whether Bill can make a better deal of it than Scott did. Let's see if Scott can make a better deal of it than Malcolm did. It's almost irrelevant. It's almost irrelevant who it is. Because they're all playing with an old ball. Old energy. I think when the Queen passes, it seems to bring in some rapid transformation. When the Queen passes, what does it bring in for Australia? I just said, when the Queen passes, what does it bring in for Australia? It brings an ending. But you also have the card of the Magician. When she does pass, and she will pass at some point, she's in her 90s. So I'm not going to say when. I don't do death predictions. That's not what I'm about. But we know, obviously, at some point she is going to. I think it will be a moment where people are actually surprised at how they feel. There's going to be a profound sense of loss. And it's actually got less to do with her as a person. It's got more to do with identity and what we've known. I've been on this planet 50 years. I've never known a year where she hasn't been there. Almost what I feel about her is immaterial. She's just always been there. Of course, there are people that probably absolutely hate the royals, hate everything they stand for, can't stand her. Let's see the back of them. Fine. They're gone. But please acknowledge and respect that there are other people that are going to be sad. And from a spiritual perspective, you need to honour that and be there for people. Because that's the fifth dimensional energy. The fifth dimensional energy is about love. Anyway, after it's done and it's gone and she's gone, Australia gets the energy of the magician. You have all the tools on the table that you need to manifest your new future. I don't think the leader, that leader even is around at the moment. That magician, that's the new leader. There he is, look. Might not be a man, it could very well be a woman. But look how young they look. That's not the image of an older person. It's a young person. Much younger. If it's not, no, it is, it's a younger person. I was going to say they might be old but have a younger energy. No, they're a younger person. And they have got the dove of peace with them. They will put right the wrongs of the past, is what I'm hearing. Does the posture of that remind you of anything? To me, it looks like the Statue of Liberty. Look at the way he's holding a light. See that? Never noticed that before. That almost looks like the Statue of Liberty in the USA, except it's not the USA. The energy is in Australia. You know, it's like, come here. It's understanding the basic premise of the universe, which is that there is enough for everybody. The universe can provide for all. There's no need to exile people onto islands as though they are not human. There is enough for all. You're a huge land. You've got all the tools that you could possibly need to make it work. But it's the younger generation is absolutely key. And they will be spirit-led. Okay. Interesting, hey? Didn't know we were going to get the Queen showing up. Boy. Right, let's just go to one more question. I think I'd like to address the... I mean, there's so many here. I can't possibly do all of these, but let's just have a look at a question linked into the Indigenous people. I'm sure there must be a question here. I am going to read out an email here from a lady. I won't name her. I hope it's okay to read it out. I'm going to do it anyway. I'm not going to name you. She says, you asked for something about Australia. I wrote this 9 years ago after visiting Uluru. Is that how you pronounce it? I don't know, I'm sorry. A huge monolith at the centre of our country. That's what I saw. Spiritually prompted to send it to you. And it's called Tears for Uluru. Red centre, red rock, black faces. Swirling rock paintings fill my mind. Your power, your overwhelming presence dominating the landscape around you. My eyes are closed, semi-dozing as I'm driven away from you, my mother. Deep sadness suddenly rises up and tears fill my eyes spilling over. Where is this sadness coming from? From the rock herself. Deep, deep sadness for the people of this land. Tears of anger and frustration rise up, and from a distance like tiny ants, travellers from around the world climbing on your sacred body. Again the appeal, please respect our sacred site. The plea ignored, only to have this precious site trampled on again and again. Where is the respect? My heart burns as the power of your love ignites something new in me. What is this newness? Something still out of reach, intangible, unknowable, as it slips through the net of intellectual understanding. What have you to teach me, Mother? What have I taken away? Back in my home in the mountains, mist swirling through trees, rain on roof, still many dreams of you. Taken again and again to the vast desert landscape and your powerful presence, to the sacred heart of this great land. This sacred heart has a deep wound, a wound etched into the heart of every Australian. Our heart as a nation needs healing, finally seeping through into white consciousness. Please guide us, Mother, to transform this collective pain, this shadow of our past, so we, black and white, can move forward together as one. And she says, I'm not sure why I'm sending this to you. This was sent on the 21st of November last year. I'm not sure why I'm sending this to you. However, last year, Indigenous people from all parts of Australia gathered at Uluru, coming up with the statement from the heart, presenting it to our government in order to have a voice, only to have it ignored. No, I'm not an Aboriginal person, though I believe we are all Indigenous to planet Earth. Oh God, can you feel into that? Thank you for those both beautiful words. I hadn't read that since November. I've just got a pile of papers on my desk, all linking into Australia and a video I knew I needed to do. And that beautiful email has just touched me deeply, and I'm sure you, because that's what I was seeing. I was seeing the heart of Australia at the start. So that land, the heart of Australia needing to be healed, the heart needing to be found, heart consciousness. Those of you that are watching me and are resonating, you hold that consciousness if you live there. You're the seeds. You're the ones that can make this happen, bring about this change, help this snake to shed its skin that it's so outgrown. But my heart feels very heavy with what I'm feeling now. And it's Gaia, it's Mother Earth, it's the heart of Australia that's crying. She doesn't want any of her children to be exiled from the Indigenous Earth. We're all Indigenous to planet Earth. Yes, we are. I want to bring in the energy of water flow. I feel it's what we need for our hearts. If you're feeling it in your heart like I'm feeling it, like, whoa, God, this is heavy. Let's bring in water, the element of water. Link into the colour, link into the energy that I'm showing you now. And it's got the dolphins and the whales on the bottle. And they're calling. They're calling. Link into the colour. Take that into your heart. Let your heart be soothed by that vibration. It's like a minty green colour. A balm to the heart. And as you breathe it into your heart, you allow the water element to bring balance. And we send the water element to the heart of Australia to transform the memory of the waters there that lie buried very deep within the earth. Let the water element come in and do her job. Balance, heal, and remove what I'm sensing is a huge dam. It's like a dam I'm seeing, a built-up dam of emotion, repressed emotion, pain, suffering, and this includes the pain and the suffering of the Indigenous people of Australia. And I'm just hearing like a loud scream, release, let go, let the water element come in and take away the pain and the suffering. And instead bring back the balance of the lessons learned, that never again shall we do this. I actually feel that Australia has the potential here. See the shell in the bottle? I feel Australia has the potential here to be a shining light to the world in terms of turning this around, actually. I think you can turn it around. I think it's got so out of balance and, well, it's darkest before the dawn. That's what I'm trying to say. It's darkest before the dawn. Australia has the opportunity in the new world, the new fifth dimensional world, this new energy that wants to sweep in from east to west, to actually show the world how we can treat our fellow human being, whether they be the indigenous people that always lived there and were shunned, ignored, or the people that try to flee from violence or war for a more peaceful life. And I think that's why we had the cards linked into the Tower, Death, and the Three of Swords. Something has to give. I'm not being shown exactly how it gives, but it will give. I'm lending towards the elements playing a part. I mean earth, fire, water and air. Today in the UK, going back to the UK, we've got this big vote tonight. And today, starting at 3 o'clock, going to 3 o'clock tomorrow on the 13th. 13th, the number of rebirth. But anyway, for 24 hours, we've got one of the worst periods of weather since last year arriving. It's a storm. And it's going to sweep away the old. The elements are helping us to shift and change. I think there have been some pretty extreme weather patterns in Australia, haven't there? I think that might continue and it might exacerbate. But it reaches a tipping point. But change will come in. Let's go back to an animal. You see, I keep getting this card the whole time with you, Australia. The Five of Cups. There's a period of mourning. It's okay to mourn when you let go of the old identity. I mean, God, look at us as Brits. I've grown up, you know, with the whole Europe, you know, EU and Europe and everything. It's whether we liked it or not, it was still part of our identity. From tonight, or certainly from the 29th, it's looking like we totally transform. Some people will mourn that and some people will celebrate it and think, thank bloody God. But some people will mourn it and it's going to be so, oh God, look at that. Oh gosh, I love the way spirit works. Look at that. I just said some people will mourn and some people will celebrate. That was the card that was next to this one on the bottom of the pack. And I tell you what is so important, whether you're in Australia or whether you're in the UK or anywhere around the world where this message is resonating, you have to, what's the word? The worst thing that can happen is that you rub people's noses in it, you know? If you're happy that you've got your freedom, don't rub that into the people that feel hurt. Okay, but equally it works both ways. So the people that are miserable, don't begrudge the people who are happy. We're back to balance. Just say that on the bottom of the pack, before I've even shuffled them, I think I will take the card. We've got the card of the whale. We were just dealing with the whales and the dolphins with the water element. Look at that, it's like a perfect match of colour, isn't it? And what is the whale? It's the record keeper. The record keeper. And this goes way back to like an Atlantean energy. which is that there is a memory within the land of Australia, there is a memory within the land wherever you're watching around the world, which remembers what it was like before we were fed the energy of being bound to a lower vibrational state, that remembers that this planet doesn't have to be bound to that. We don't have to be that. We don't have to fight to death and trample over other people to get what we want. That is ending. What's coming forward is a new way of being based on respect, balance, partnership, love. And the ones that have held the memory that that is even possible, it's not the humans, yes, to a degree. I mean, it goes way back in our DNA, but it's a hell of a long way. It's the whales. The whales remember. The whales have been keeping that record for us. That yes, your planet was once a place of beauty, of unity. And we have been holding that for you so that you eventually remember. And all you have to do is you have to bring that new energy into your heart via the element of water, via this colour, via the whale consciousness. Let me just read the message that goes with the card of the whale. And then I think I probably will end this video here because it's like quite a powerful message that's come through, and I'll just have to deal with the other questions another day. The whale, the record keeper. There are many tales of heroes being swallowed by whales in their quest for enlightenment. Their descent into the creature's belly often represents man's spiral into the underworld and his inevitable re-emergence after certain tests are passed. A journey significant and symbolic of sacred rebirth and retrieval of the human spirit. Whale asks us to remember the earth as our mother and to reconnect with her and the soul connection that we forged at the beginning of time. Whale is a keeper of the Earth Mother's sacred records. She witnesses the proceedings that collectively authenticate the spiritual makeup of Earth and the memories of each and every event that has ever and will ever contribute to her shaping, and she stores them within her dreaming. It says it's about opening the faults of creation, offering access to sacred knowledge. And I've got the energy of the indigenous people of Australia here, but equally this is applying to other countries around the world. But remember, it starts in Australia. It's like the indigenous people, like the whales, they held that. Even when they were shunned, even when they were ignored, even when they were pushed out, they never forgot that. It's still within them. So it's not just the whale consciousness, it's the spirit of the indigenous people. And you can see it in America as well. They're starting to rise. They're starting to rise also because it's time, but also because they're being pushed. They're coming up against an immovable energy, which is just denying them entry. They're actually the ones, Metatron is saying, that have got the keys to the door to the new future. They are the ones that have got the keys to the door to the new future. With the whale. And when you see whales beached on a beach, they're trying to remind you. They're trying to remind you of what you've forgotten, what we have forgotten. It's coming back. So, those of you in Australia, do the work. Open your hearts. Connect into the heart of your land. Fill it with the tranquil tones of blues and greens and the element of water, soothing, balancing, healing, restoring, as well as your own hearts. Connect to the whales. bring their energy in. But this is divinely guided and will happen as it is meant to. Feels very, very sacred. And what Metatron is saying is, as the Western world watches the Sydney fireworks in awe every New Year's Eve, one day you will watch in awe as the country transforms, transcends, and births a new paradigm that then sweeps across the earth. But like anything, it's darkest before the dawn. And it needs to be dark before the dawn, because otherwise people are apathetic and they don't stand up for a different way of being, a better humanity. Let's ground that. Final thing to do, let's ground it. Let's bring in the energy of Earth. Earth. Gaia says, thank you for listening. She says, I am ready. Are you? Namaste. I'm going to leave it there. I've just been told to transmit an energy out in the last 30 seconds. I'm just going to transmit what wants to be transmitted. Healing energy. Linked into this new earth. Let it flow into your heart. And let it flow into Australia. And let it flow into the seas. Namaste. Much love. Bye-bye.